Amandla. Amandla. Viva ANC, viva. Viva COSATU, viva. Viva SACP, viva. Malbongwe. Igama lamakhosikazi. Roar, young lions, roar. Ngiyabonga, Comrade Duma. Members of the National Executive Committee who have been deployed to come to be in attendance in this conference, singling out to Comrade Notawe Mafu as the head of the NEC deployees, the new elected leadership of the ANC in this province, led by Comrade Duma, leaders of the various regions in our province, leaders of our leagues, leaders of the alliance formations, delegates and comrades and friends. Comrades, it gives me pleasure to be here. Comrade Duma is right. We spoke very early in the morning. In fact, truth be told, as soon as the results were announced, I tried to call him, and I think he was too busy. Early hours of the morning, he couldn't take the call, but we finally spoke around 8 o'clock this morning. When we spoke, my own program was a little bit mixed up, and it looked like I would not be able to come. But later, we spoke again, and I informed Comrade Duma that yes, my program had loosened up, and I was therefore able to come. And that is why I am here. Let me start off, comrades, and I'll be brief because I know Uguti, you still have a lot of work to do. Some of you still have to go and vote, and the commission still need to report. Let me start off, comrade, by congratulating you as delegates to this KZN province for holding such a disciplined, well-organized conference. I also want to thank you for having approved your credentials to this conference in 15 minutes, whereas other provinces have taken the whole day to approve our credentials. Yanbonga ukuthi nina, you did it in such a short space of time. In fact, you are already giving us a very good example at national level. Uguti, when we go to our conference in December, our credentials should be approved in 10 minutes. Let me also congratulate Comrade Sponiso Duma, whom you elected as your provincial chairperson, Comrade Unomakuku, who you elected as your deputy chair, and you have made history here in KZN, ukukhetha umuntu wesifazane to be your deputy chairperson. Congratulations also go to Comrade Peggy Mtolo as the provincial secretary. Ngengaba usecretary nami, so Comrade Peggy, so uzoba nomsebenzi omkhulu. omkhulu, but you are going to have to hold this organization together, working with the chairperson. Congratulations to Comrade Sipho Shomuka for coming back as the Deputy Secretary, no Comrade Ntutugo Mahlaba for becoming the Treasurer of the province. Ngiyanibongela nonke. Mphinde futhi congratulate nalabo abazawukhethwa as additional members. Ngifisa nje ukuthi kube nami bengine vote. Ngithe mangena lapho ngathi ngicela ivote balile ukunginika ivote. Bengifuna ukuvota nami ngivote labanye ukuthi babe ama additional members. Comrades, what I want to say is that you have chosen a leadership, and I want to say that I pledge myself to be able to work with them, to work together with our comrades who've been elected, based on trust, based on cooperation, based on working together to advance the interests of the African National Congress in KwaZulu-Natal. So they are going to be my very first point of contact. Ngeke ngisafuna ukuthi ngizwe ukuhlethelwa ngabanye lapho nalapho. If kunento ngizozwa ngabo kuqala, ibona abazongitshela indaba. And as we reflect on her life, but more importantly on her contribution, there is much that should inspire us. There is much that we can learn from Comrade Jesse's life. Comrade Jesse was driven by a deep love for our people, but also a deep love for her country. She also had an abiding love for our organization and her organization, the African National Congress. She had dedicated her life to the freedom of our people and the development and welfare of our people. She was a person of enormous integrity, a person of humility, compassion, and unfailing loyalty to the cause of our people. We should honor her contribution by striving every day to learn from her example and to be better activists for freedom and democracy. Comrades, we gather here during a very difficult time for our movement and our country. The global COVID-19 pandemic, which is now in its third year, has caused untold damage to our economy and our society. COVID is still very much with us. You will have heard just a week ago, our own Minister of Health, Comrade Joe Pahla, contracted COVID and had to be in isolation. So this pandemic is still alive. It is still amongst us. And that is why we all have to continue being very careful. But on top of that, we've had continuing poverty, unemployment, and we've had to continue dealing with inequality, which is part of the devastating legacy of apartheid. These have deepened as a result of the pandemic. Added to these challenges is that the cost of living is continuing to rise and has a very negative impact on the livelihood of many of our people, affecting the capabilities of businesses to operate profitably. This province, KwaZulu-Natal, is still recovering from the catastrophic flooding that struck several regions of our province here in April, causing tragic loss of life, the destruction of homes, and extensive damage to property and infrastructure. And this follows on the floods that we had the earlier years as well, which we were still trying to get to grips with. But I do wish to commend the leadership of the provincial government and the affected municipalities for the swift, empathic response to the tragedy. When I came here soon after the floods had occurred, I found that the provincial government and various local government structures were already seized with the task of assisting our people. And I commend them and I applaud them for the wonderful work that they have been doing throughout this period. But I also wish to commend, comrades, the ANC leadership from the province down to the branch for providing assistance and care to those communities that were hardest hit by the floods. And I know that there are still many challenges that we still need to address in the wake of these floods. As we recover from the floods, our priority must be to find suitable accommodation for those people who are still in shelters. And there are quite a number of our people who are still in shelters who we still need to take care of. As we rebuild, we need infrastructure that is resilient, housing that is structurally sound, as well as being well located, so that from a special point of view, we no longer build structures or allow our people to build on ground that is unstable and ground that is also dangerous. We now need to take this up as a major factor in our rebuilding process. There are a number of countries that are prone to things like earthquakes and so forth, and they have taken care to make sure that when they rebuild, they avoid exposing their people to areas that are dangerous. So as we plan our cities and towns, as well as rural areas, we should make sure that we build on areas that can withstand natural disasters in the future. We also need to attend to the weaknesses in governance, proper town planning, processes of laying out areas where people should build, where roads should be, where schools should be, and where churches should be. Because when I came, I found that in some of the areas, churches had collapsed, schools had also collapsed. We need effective, capable levels of government at all levels so that we are able to effect our planning a lot better. We also need, at the lowest level where people build houses and build various structures, well-trained personnel who have the necessary expertise to ensure that when we plan properly. But we also need the financial resources to build vital infrastructure that is durable to ensure that we do not expose our people to dangers. Comrades, while there is much we can do to combat climate change, there may not be much that we can do to prevent extreme weather events in the immediate future. Right now, with climate change, 2 or 3 areas in our country are now exposed to extreme weather patterns. On the eastern seaboard, KZN, we're exposed to floods, right from Mozambique right through down to the south. On the western sides, we're exposed to droughts. For instance, in certain parts of the Eastern Cape, we've had droughts for about 7 years. But we do need to equip and empower our communities to adapt and become more resilient to future events of weather like this. You are gathered here, comrades, as representatives of your branches in this province. And I've been told that all of you being here, 1,600 of you, you've come to represent the branches, and I've also been told that the delegates who are here represent 100% of attendance at the conference, and you are to be applauded for that. We don't often get that in conferences. When we do credentials, you often find that there are some delegates who are missing. But here, you have come in your great numbers, and you have shown high and great discipline, representing the branches where you come from, and all of you are in 100% attendance. It is something that I will also report to the NEC about when we talk about your conference. So you are here with the responsibility of coming up with proposals that will advance the objectives of our national democratic revolution, not only here in KZN, but nationally as well, by discussing, by formulating and adopting policies that will guide our movement as we go to our policy conference in a few days. But more importantly, as we go also to our national conference in 4 months. You were tasked by your branches with the responsibility of electing leaders who will lead your province and ensure that indeed the NDR is advanced. But more than that, as delegates, you have the fundamental responsibility to champion and advance the needs, the interests, and the concerns of 11 million people who live here in our province in KwaZulu-Natal. So seated as you are here, seated disciplined, and seated in the way that you have come in your great numbers, you have a big responsibility on your shoulders. A big responsibility that means that you have to represent those branches, but also have to go and report back to the branches that have tasked you to come and represent them here. Our conferences often tend to be inwardly focused. They are often concerned with contests of leadership and dynamics within our organization. We need to change that. We need to make our conferences about the people of our country, the people that we are committed to unite, to organize, and to serve. I always say, comrades, KZN has always shown great leadership on a number of issues that affect our organization as a whole. You have always been leaders in showing a path to the future that our organization should take. So I would say we must emerge from this conference with a clear program and an undivided commitment to improve the lives of our people here in KZN. The fundamental purpose of this conference must be to advance the realization of the vision of our Freedom Charter. We can adopt credentials, we can consider political and secretarial organizational reports, we can debate policy and elect leaders, but unless we use this conference to advance the struggle for the freedoms that are contained in the Freedom Charter, this conference could be a waste of time and have no reason. But I do know that you are continuing to give commitment, and that is why in your commissions you are going to continue discussing, and you have been discussing, important issues that affect the people of our country. We should recognize that since the advent of democracy, our country has made remarkable progress in giving effect to the demands that our forebears set out in the Freedom Charter. Through our Constitution, we have affirmed the fundamental principle that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, and that the authority of the government must be based on the will of the people. Over the course of the last 28 years, we have removed discriminatory and exploitative practices of the past. We have enacted many rights and that are demanded in the Freedom Charter. Despite all this progress, we have still to fully achieve the real vision of the Freedom Charter. That task, comrades, the achievement of the vision of the Freedom Charter, remains central to the mission of the African National Congress and the broader democratic movement. Our greatest challenge at this time is to effect the demand that is inscribed in the Freedom Charter, that the people shall share in the country's wealth. Although there has been some progress in improving the economic position of a number of South Africans, black South Africans in particular, through redistributive and affirmative action policies, the country is still defined by widespread poverty, unemployment, and inequality. This situation has also been worsened by a number of things that have happened during the course of the past 3 or 4 years. Our focus must therefore be on the implementation of the radical transformation of our economy and society as set out in our National Development Plan, our 54th National Conference resolutions, and our 2019 election manifesto. These, comrades, are the foundation stones on which our plan is based, and they are the foundation stones on which we can engender transformation and economic growth. Our past conference resolutions and the 2019 election manifesto proceed from the premise that the state should play a developmental role and lead the process of transforming our economy. It envisages a state with sufficient legal authority and economic means that will take steps, working together with other key role players in our economy to improve the lives of the poor and the marginalized. What it really means is that we need to fundamentally alter the racial and gender composition of ownership, of control, of management in our economy. We need a South African economy that truly reflects the demography, the diversity, and the interests of the people of our country. This necessarily requires that we address the principal cause of poverty and inequality, which is asset and opportunity poverty in our country. It has long been asserted that one of the key problems in our country is the concentration of ownership of our economy. Economic concentration makes the transformation that we want to see in our economy more difficult, if not impossible, by limiting the scope of new entrants in the economy. Economic monopolies still stifles competition, and it keeps prices high, and it encourages inefficiencies in our economy. That is why we must use the legal instruments that we've got to change the structure of our economy. Because our transformation objective requires that we diversify our economy, specifically through the support, the enhancement, and the development of those who were previously denied opportunities to play a key role in our economy. Now, by using interventions such as the support to small medium enterprises, the Black Industrialist Program, the public procurement processes, the redistribution of land, as well as leading to the transformation of the economy to allow women and young people to play key roles. These are some of the instruments that we should use. Our country has abundant resources. It has our people. It has young people. It has mineral and agricultural resources. But we are not extracting the true economic value of the resources that our country has. We therefore need to move towards ensuring that we extract the benefit that can flow to our people from all these resources. Job creation, comrades, remains the biggest challenge that our economy faces. The number of people who continue to be unemployed in our country is a concern. Our alliance partners, the party and COSATU, have proposed that, and the ANC agrees, that we should hold an economic summit to discuss our economy in the broadest way that we can. This, I agree, will give us an opportunity to fully examine our economy and find out exactly why, for the past 28 years, our economy has not grown to a level where it can create the jobs that are needed to be created. Over the 28 years, we've just had a few years, 2 or 3 years, where we've grown at a level of 5%. For the most part, over the past 28 years, we've grown at levels that are below par, way below the level of our peer countries. We are characterized as a middle-income economy, but our economic performance over the years has not been a stellar performance. The economic summit, as proposed by our alliance partners, will give us an opportunity to examine the key drivers of our economy with a view of coming up with much better ways of generating high levels of growth. In the wake of COVID-19, together with our social partners, we crafted the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, following deliberations within the ANC as well as in the Alliance. We are creating conditions for the growth of businesses, both large and small, through a focused, coordinated effort to ensure that we inject growth in our economy. We have shown the potential of public and social employment programs that they have to provide unemployed people with livelihoods and skills as well as job opportunities. The Presidential Employment Stimulus has provided work and livelihoods support to over 800,000 people since it was established less than 2 years ago. We are making progress in the economic reforms that we have embarked upon in the key network industries such as electricity, telecommunications, ports, rail and water, as well as transport. These reforms, comrades, will make our economy more competitive and more inclusive and will enable faster rates of growth as well as employment creation. A critical part of these reforms, yes, is taking place as we focus more and more on our energy. Now, all of us are hugely unhappy with the load shedding that we have all been experiencing in recent weeks. And this has demonstrated the need for the urgent reforms that we need to implement. While we have embarked on several measures over the last 4 years to increase the generation of capacity in the country, this is not happening fast enough. We have been finalizing and will soon be announcing a package of additional measures to reduce the severe load shedding that we have been experiencing in the medium term, to end load shedding in the medium term as well, and to ensure that we have energy security into the future. We've been meeting with various departments, both energy, public enterprises, even the police, treasury, environment, and a whole range of our various departments, focusing our attention on the challenges that Eskom has been going through. We've been to power stations as well to examine precisely the challenges that our power station managers are going through. And with that, we've also been meeting engineers and scientists to work out clear and more practical ways of resolving our energy challenges. And we will soon be making announcement in this regard. Comrades, we've also in the course of this time been involved in a process of finalizing a social compact. We should challenge the claim that nothing is being done to build a social compact. Since the State of the Nation address in February, government has been meeting with various social partners on the further measures we need to take in addition to the economic reconstruction and recovery plan to grow and transform our economy. The process has been slow, and at times it has been quite difficult. While we all agree that our overriding objectives are to grow the economy, to create jobs, and reduce poverty and inequality, and we must remember that the problem and challenge of jobs did not start yesterday. It did not start 2 years ago. We have lived with this problem over a number of years, and we've been involved amongst the social partners on finding or creating steps that we need to take to address all these challenges through a social compact. There are differences over what compromises need to be made and who needs to make those compromises. And so while we don't have an overarching social compact, we are making progress. At the same time, we should recognize that social partners continue to engage on critical economic issues. We have, for example, a social compact on Eskom, which outlines what is expected of the social partners individually and collectively. Engagements are continuing. While the country faces many severe challenges, and we are not the only country at this point in time that is facing severe challenges, challenges that have been exacerbated by the pandemic, and in our case, that have also been exacerbated by the social unrest that we had last year. There are, of course, a number of weaknesses we also need to address, and these are being addressed, and we are proceeding to implement. For radical economic transformation to be successful, we need to ensure that we address each one of the various issues, particularly empowerment, to ensure that there is reinforcing and mutual growth that will affect all our people. Our objective is to foster transformation, as we said, in our economic reconstruction and recovery plan. Is to foster transformation, to make sure that we bring more black people into the economy as owners, managers, financiers, and industrialists. And we need also to use the levers of state procurement more effectively. Now, the issue of state procurement has been raised more prominently by yourselves here in KZN. I forever remember hearing Comrade Sihle Zikalala's voice continuing to harp on this issue, saying that through public procurement we will be able to ensure that we empower our people. And this has become like a KZN economic motive, and I applaud KZN for continuing to raise economic issues sharply in the way that you have always done so. And comrades, we heed all these issues, including the issues that Comrade Slal or Comrade Duma has also raised. When we raise issues, you should never think as KZN that they fall on deaf ears. As part of this unitary movement that we all belong to, of which KZN is an important component, I want to assure you that the issues that you raise, and I'm glad that you continue to raise all these issues in the most disciplined way that KZN always raises issues. You have distinguished yourselves as a province, and even now that the leadership baton has been passed on to Comrade Duma, Comrade Mtolo, and the others, I am confident that KZN will continue on the same path of being a disciplined component of the African National Congress. And you will continue being a sterling example of provinces of the African National Congress. So comrades, this public procurement issue which you have continued to raise is an important one, and we have listened and we have heeded, and the legal process, the legislative process is underway, and that is going to be concluded. And if you like, its sub-name can even be the KZN-inspired public procurement process of empowerment. Comrades, clearly, we want to thank you as KZN for continuing to act in the way that you do. We all know that only a strong and united ANC is capable of transforming society and of convincing the people of our country to continue placing their trust in us. We now need to spend our energies and our talents on addressing our people's issues and resolving their concerns, we must prove to our people that we can serve them diligently, with respect and with integrity. Now, the branches that you represent are the basic units of the African National Congress. And I'm glad that you've come in such large numbers to represent those branches here. We have had a concern about the state of our branches over a long time. We have had a concern about the weakness of our branches, and we have wished and longed for strong branches, branches that will continue to represent the interests of our people at the lowest level. And that is why we embarked on the Letsema campaign to renew the ANC as an organ of people's power and to bring the African National Congress closer to the people. And I know that issues such as membership processes, issues such as scanners, are challenges that you have to deal with at your level. But I'm saying, let us continue strengthening our branches. In undertaking the Letsema campaign, the ANC acknowledges that over the course of several years, yes, we've had all these challenges. Now, this Letsema campaign, which I have participated in, is a campaign that I would like to encourage all of us at branch level to take up with a great deal of enthusiasm, because it enables our people to be involved, and it ensures that people can once again trust the ANC as the champion of the poor and the vulnerable in our society. So the Letsema campaign is a fundamental component of our process to renew, to rebuild, and to unite our movement. We knew when we embarked on this journey of fundamental renewal that there would be both setbacks and successes. We knew that we would, yes, there would be problems here and there, but the problems, much as they are many, need to be addressed. And I'm glad, comrades, that you are going to elect a leadership, as you are each going out to vote now, that is going to be capable of addressing the challenges. Let me also commend you, comrades. I was here 5 years ago when you held your last conference, and one of the issues that impressed me and struck me very, very positively was your ability as the African National Congress in KZN to forge unity, even as you may differ on a number of issues. At that conference, you agreed amongst yourselves that you are going to unite. We had just come out of Nazareth, which had divided our movement, but you decided consciously on your own that you are going to unite yourselves and make sure that the ANC is united here in KZN. And you succeeded in the past 5 years to forge unity, and you supported the leaders who were leading the ANC here in KZN. I expect, comrades, that now as you are electing and you have elected the officials and you are electing new leaders, I expect that exactly the same will prevail, that you will forge unity and you will close ranks and unite, even though you might have had different perspectives coming to this conference. And I am sure you are going to do precisely that. Knowing you as I do as the KZN, I have no doubt that once again you will show the entirety of the African National Congress what unity is all about. You will also show us what the renewal is all about, because you have, frankly, embarked on a number of processes that have united this organization here. And comrades, I say so because, yes, there are differences in every organization, different approaches, different perspective. It's not new. But what those different perspectives and approaches should never do is to divide us to a point where we regard ourselves as enemies, is to make it impossible for us to work together. I was very impressed with the press conference that Comrade Duma held yesterday, or was it this morning, when he said there's not going to be any purging. There won't be any purging. He is going to work extremely well with all other comrades, even those who have been in the leadership in the past. And I applaud you, Comrade Duma, for all that. Comrades, this is the way of the ANC. This is the way we need to ensure that we function. Not to see ourselves as enemies, but to see ourselves as comrades. The name or the term comrade means that you may not be my personal friend, but you are a comrade in arms. We link arms together, and together we confront either a task, an enemy, or a process. And that is what comradeship should be all about. And where we differ, we should be able to say it clearly and explicitly. Ukuthi hayi lapha mngani wami asizwani. Sinamehlukahlukile. We differ all together, but what unites us is the African National Congress. That should be the overriding issue. So, comrades, as ANC members, we must live and conduct ourselves with integrity, with respect for one another, with discipline, and with adherence to our organizational discipline. Revolutionary discipline must be applied in a disciplined and organizational manner. Now, part of renewal, comrades, is about intensifying political education to improve the understanding of our history, of our values and practices amongst our membership. But I want to include part of the political education must also be about understanding our economy, because it is our economy that supports the life of our people. It must be about understanding our economic history. It must be about looking at how we can improve the economy of our country. And we must individually ask ourselves what role we must all play in providing the healing and regeneration of our movement. But the other aspect, comrades, must be how we hope, or we should work to be accountable to one another, so that accountability should be one of our top priorities. Because in the end, the ANC, comrades, does not exist for its own sake. It exists to unite not only itself, but it exists to unite the people of South Africa in building a society that is founded on the vision of the Freedom Charter. Let us therefore remember, as we rise from this conference, that we are rebuilding the ANC so that it can evermore be an effective agent of fundamental social and economic change. Let us also remember that we have joined this movement so that each one of us gathered here can make a difference in the lives of our people. We have made a commitment to fight alongside each other for the freedom of our people, but let us also fight along each other to make sure that there is economic progress, that we create jobs, we embark on the various policies. We are going to our policy conference. We are going to review our policies, and I wish you well. As you send your delegates to the policy conference, arm them with the various arguments and proposals on how we can sharpen our policies, make them more effective. Where our policies have not been strong and sharp enough, we can make them even sharper to help with the transformation of our country. Lastly, comrades, let us remember, as Comrade Jesse Duarte taught us, that we are here to serve our people humbly, selflessly, and also loyally. And with that, comrades, I want to thank you for being here, but I also want to applaud you for holding such a wonderful, disciplined conference, and I wish you the very best as you finish your conference and elect your leaders, and thank you very much.
Amandla! Amandla! Viva ANC, viva! Viva President Cyril Ramaphosa, viva! Comrades, thank you very much. Let's take our seats. I firstly want President to confirm that there have been no walkouts in the plenary. As you were talking to us, regions have been called to vote. So we started with Musadada when you walked in. We went to eThekwini. We can now see the Lower South Coast region going to vote. Certainly, the delegates of KwaZulu-Natal are very disciplined and they appreciate your presence here. Siyabonga, comrade. Thank you very much. We can then proceed with our program. We had acknowledged hands, comrades. Okay. Comrades, after Lower South Coast, we are going to request Imzala Nxumalo to go and vote because igude. But let's give the comrades a few minutes. I will indicate. Uguti sizongena nini. Is that a hand, comrade? Point of order. All right, please come to your mic. Comrades from the media, we are going to be excusing you very soon as we are starting with our program, or we are resuming with our program. I had noted hands, comrades, earlier on. Comrades who are still interested. Okay, I can see. But there's just one hand that I saw. I think it's a special intervention, not part of the list that I pointed. Ne? You want to engage? Oza Kerila Ngozi. Let's allow the President to leave, comrades. Thank you very much, Comrade President. Comrades from the media, as the President leaves, please leave with him. We appreciated your presence, but we are now getting back into our closed session. The comrade I just noted, are you on discussions? Discussions. On discussions? Yes. All right, Image. Akona ma comrades ekade ngiwanotile asingaweki. Asemva kwa